allow payment of fees in monthly installments, so the cost of tuition is spread over the duration of the course. All campuses are fully accredited as an exam center for the qualifications they provide. Internationally accredited qualifications in business, ICT, and secretarial are offered at the Business and Computer and Secretarial schools at the Chitepo and Bulawayo campuses. These are in the fields of accounting, business management, hospitality, travel and tourism, marketing, supply chain, logistics and transport, ICDL, computer engineering, software engineering, programming, web development, secretarial and office management. Our wide range of programs include high schools offering the Cambridge syllabus at Chitepo and Bulawayo and the Zimsek syllabus at the Technical and Chitungwiza campuses. The Study Center at the Chitepo campus complements the high schools by offering remedial classes as well as intensive O and A-level classes. Hands-on practical technical vocation qualifications on offer include motor vehicle systems, auto electrics, electrical and electronic engineering, welding, panel beating and spray painting, building technology, solar systems, installations, refrigeration and air conditioning. Several of these qualifications are accredited by the internationally recognized city and guilds. The government beauty and cosmetology qualifications include fashion design, pattern making and tailoring, interior deco, events management, bridal wear, beauty therapy, braiding and weaving, cosmetology. Our culinary arts qualifications include professional cookery and baking and cake making.
Gather round, it's time for good cheer. TM Pick and Pay Supermarkets wishes you a festive season filled with love and laughter. It's time for the news.
It is exactly 8 o'clock Central African time, and it's good to have you with us here on the main news, wherever you're watching us from tonight. It's good to have you with us. I'm Vicky Maponga, and Piswe Jomunyika is at the sign language desk.
And I'm Justin Matlatla. Later on, we'll cross over to our Montreal studios, where we will be joined by Arthur C. Evans to give us news from that end. For now, let's look at the stories we are chasing tonight.
Zimbabwe's gold output expected to reach 40 tons this year.
Government steps up efforts to rescue 3 gold miners trapped in a disused mine in Mudzi district.
Later on, we will look at business, where the Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board lays a groundwork for a fair pricing system.
In sport, Simba Bora embark on rebuilding exercise after signing highly rated midfielder Blessed Ndereki.
Those are some of the stories that we are tracking for you here on ZBC TV. Now, in our first report, Zimbabwe's gold output is expected to reach 40 tons this year, driven by new investments, a favorable operating environment, and increased capacity. Stanley James has our first report tonight.
Latest data by the country's sole buyer over the precious metal, Fidelity Gold Refinery, shows that output of the yellow mineral was over 36 tons last year compared to 30 tons in 2023. The statistics further raised hopes of increased production riding on artisanal miners, including new projects by large-scale gold mining companies.
40 tons is achievable for this year as a national target, because the previous year, 2024, the mining industry recorded 36 tons, 24 tons coming from the small-scale miners and 12 tons coming from production coming from the big mining operations. So we actually thrilled to announce that the mining industry achieved the set target of 2024, of which 40 tons is actually very possible.
We've got a human capital which is interested to get involved in the mining of gold. And the second point is the equipment issue. Once there are institution or private players who are interested to support our artisanal and small-scale miners with equipment, that will alleviate the challenges they are having, and also the finance issue.
Government has also reviewed a commitment to solving challenges facing the gold mining industry.
Fidelity is working very closely with the miners in terms of facilitating their deliverance and also in terms of payment. And as government, we have a number of initiatives which include the Mining Industry Loan Fund to assist the miners to increase their production. We will be working closely with Fidelity to come up with other instruments to facilitate working capital and also other items of capital equipment.
The positive gold output trajectory has also created optimism over increased foreign currency inflows, with the yellow metal maintaining its dominance as Zimbabwe's main foreign currency earner. Stanley James, ZBC News, Harare.
Government says trade with the international community is central to the country's diplomatic agenda, with efforts being made to increase trade volumes this year. Josephine Mugio gives us more.
Increasing the country's trade volumes and establishing new markets for local goods remains a key for the Second Republic. This was disclosed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Professor Amon Murwira, when he outlined the roadmap for boosting trade with the international community in Harare this Monday.
Normally, international relations are politically defined, but in practice, they are economically defined. That's where our national interest is. The Constitution talks about a prosperous nation whose people have dignified lives, happy and fulfilling lives. And for this to happen, it can only happen when there is movement of goods and services between Zimbabwe and the rest of the world, which is trade. Section 12 of the Constitution spells out our foreign policy in terms of how we should conduct ourselves so that trade and economic development can happen. When His Excellency says, Nika inova kwa nevene vayo, he is promoting what we call local production. That local production then enables us to do the trade. Because matambana gudo, kandiroenda, kandirotsoka. So trade is the centerpiece for our diplomacy.
Professor Murwira went on to highlight that attention should also be drawn to the country's production side, emphasizing the need to put in place production clusters.
In the past 3 months, since I had the privilege of being appointed the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, through our trade division and through ZimTrade, we produced our inaugural strategic plan in order to effect the policies of His Excellency the President for trade. This is Strategic Plan 2025 to 2030.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade has created profiles of the country's trade partners and potential business allies to come up with a systematic approach in promoting trade. South Africa, the United Arab Emirates, and China are among Zimbabwe's biggest trading partners. Josephine Mugio, ZBC News, Harare.
Now, Zimbabwe has been commended for abolishing the death sentence after President Emmerson Mnangagwa approved the bill to abolish the penal code. The development will see over 60 inmates on death row being sent back to the courts for resentencing. The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission is among organizations that have welcomed the move as progressive. And I'm joined in the studio by the Commission's chairperson, Ms. Jessie Majome, to discuss this development and more. Jessie, it appears this is a phenomenal development in the history of Zimbabwe. But before we talk about everything else, what is your take on this recent development?
Thank you, Justin. I think this is a time that we Zimbabweans must celebrate this historic move, because we've done and gone beyond what also even a lot of other countries that have, that have maybe been ahead of us, because our President, His Excellency Emmerson Mnangagwa, assented, that is brought into law, the Abolition of Death Penalty Act, which makes it unlawful, or therefore not actually not possible for the law to be used to kill a person, if I can say, that no one will be sentenced to death from 31 December 2024 when it was gazetted, and no one who has been sentenced to death is going to be executed. So as the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, we are jubilant, we're excited, because we are seeing our government taking very strong leadership to protect what can be called the most important human right, because without life, you cannot enjoy any other human rights. It's a very bold step, and it's a historic step, and it's a humane step. It shows the character that Zimbabwe is, that it's making us maybe closer, in fact, more and more clear that we are a humane society that does not, that values life, and that is compassionate. So the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission congratulates His Excellency the President and the Parliament of Zimbabwe and for uniting across the board, and also making history, because this act was a bill that was moved by Honorable Edwin Mshoriwa as a private member's bill, and it's historic. And what's more exciting is because he is in the opposition, but you can't move a bill by yourself. We see unity of Zimbabweans, our political leaders, our parliamentarians, uniting to pass this bill, and also particularly the government through the Honorable Minister of Justice, Ziyambi, because if you move a private member's bill, a vice president or a minister has to consent. And this is, it's really exciting.
I can tell, really Jesse, that indeed you are happy, as not just in your individual capacity, but as the entire Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. But you mentioned the fact that it appears Zimbabwe has actually gone further beyond just merely ratifying this as a protocol, but it has gone into to the signing. To what extent that this development align with international best practice?
This development, as you did say, it aligns with and actually demonstrates international best practice, because there has been an increasing lobby to abolish the death penalty for a very long time, since the United Nations Convention on Civil and Political Rights. Its Article 6 encourages state parties like Zimbabwe to take measures to abolish the death penalty. And then when that was done, when that convention was adopted in the 60s, there were two optional protocols to that United Nations Convention on Civil and Political Rights that deals specifically with the abolition of the death penalty, which required that member states like Zimbabwe, who are party to the covenant, and therefore the requirement to abolish it, also take practical measures to easing it, because it's a very dogged kind of penalty. Countries have struggled to remove it. So those two optional protocols are encouraged they push countries that are members towards ending the death penalty by, for example, placing a moratorium on sentences, that there shall be no further sentences, or that they shall not be executed. Now, what's exciting about Zimbabwe is that we have gone beyond merely undertaking not to sentence or not to execute. We have actually eliminated it. And then if you go to the website of the United Nations Commissioner on Human Rights, you'll see, if anyone can search, their countries are listed there by their status regarding the optional protocol. You will find that Zimbabwe is listed as one of those countries as of 31 December 2024. It's one of those countries where no action has been taken about the protocol. But we, in terms of the acceding to the protocol, but here we are, our leadership has led right from the front and done what it matters and actually domesticated, but also clearly implemented it. So we are showing leadership of Zimbabwe regarding human rights.
Now, Jesse, is the abolition of the penal code fair to the victims and families affected by those who have committed murder?
Justin, you pose a very searching question, and we're right to consider that, because when a human life is taken, it is tragic, it is painful. But so for the victims, well, we pray that their souls rest in peace, because unfortunately their lives have been cut unlawfully and wrongfully. But the families of the victims, you know, need definitely consideration and also support. But I would say, Justin, that not every family member of a person who's been murdered and wants actually also even the death penalty. There are those who are of the view that taking another life does not replace the life of their loved one, which is really sad. So some want it, some would not. But I would say that not executing a person who's killed another does not really, unfortunately, it does not, it's not unjust to those who survive, because the person must still be punished, and the theories of punishment are three, and we're getting better.
I would have wanted to give you time to delve deeper into how exactly the appropriation of the sentencing is going to take place going forward, but I perhaps believe that we might find time in the future to discuss that deeper. Jesse, thank you so much for making time to join us here on the Bay News.
Thank you, Justin, and congratulations, Zimbabwe.
That's Jesse Majome, the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, discussing the details around the signing into law of the abolishment of the death penalty by President Emmerson Mnangagwa. And now we continue with our bulletin. More than 100 cases of cholera have been recorded in Mazoe district. The outbreak, which started at Mazoe Flowers Farm last month, has spread to Glendale's Highway suburb. The Ministry of Health and Childcare is now on the ground coordinating a multi-sectoral response to the outbreak. Our Mashonaland Central Bureau Chief Tapiwa Machemedze has that report.
104 cases of cholera have been recorded in Mazoe district since 19 December following an outbreak at Mazoe Flowers Farm, where there were 40 cases. The epicenter of the outbreak, however, moved to Highway suburb in Glendale on 30 December.
Masweji achona ari kudhubhuka singaite zvokutoti dai vatombochinja kana mapaipi zvanyanya dai matita matibatsira ubhoziya kana mukugara mudzimba umu matoileti anenge akangodhubhuka zvokutoti kana vana vakutoshaya pisi.
Nyaya iri kukonzeresa nyaya yekolera inyaya yemapamba kurasira marara nzvimbo dzisina kufanira nekunonoka kutakurwa kwemarara.
The Deputy Minister of Health and Childcare, Honorable Suleiman Kwidini, visited the affected areas with the National AIDS Council committing to provide boreholes to address the water and sanitation challenges.
There was water shortage, but now because of our visit, we've come up with the other partners, the likes of NAC, which have come with also to our rescue to give us 2 boreholes to drill where in the Glendale location they are going to drill 2 boreholes, and here where we are standing here, where they've got water, but the challenge is the water. There was water rationing because of the farm owner was supplying them. But we've come to agreement that the NAC is going also to place the water reservoirs that are 2 5,000 litre tanks, which are going to be filled in almost every day to supply the people from this compound. And also we've seen that their abolition blocks, especially the toilets, they are not properly sited.
The Deputy Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Norbert Mazungunye, who is also Mazoe South legislator, urged stakeholders to work together to mitigate spread of the pandemic.
We have toured Glendale and we've also toured Mazoe Flowers, and we've noted that in Glendale the sewer system has gone down and it is old and it needs rehabilitation. Indeed, so we are pleased by the visit by the Deputy Minister and Permanent Secretary, that the engagements that we have done today, we have noted that if we come together, with the pool resources together, we'll be able to address the issue of the sewer system that has affected mainly the Glendale area. So we are looking forward to continued support with the relevant stakeholders.
A similar cholera outbreak was recorded in Mazoe in January 2023, with calls being made for a permanent solution. Tapiwa Machemedze, ZBC News, Mazoe.
Government has stepped up efforts to locate 3 illegal miners who are believed to have been trapped in a disused gold mine in Makaha area of Mudzi district for the past 3 days.
A high-powered government delegation led by chairperson of the Provincial Civil Protection Unit and traditional leaders descended on Makaha area of Mudzi in Mashonaland East Province this Tuesday as efforts to locate the trapped illegal miners are being stepped up. The trio, which was operating in a disused mine, is suspected to have been trapped after heavy rains which pounded the area recently.
Sakabasa, you see now they've gone about 15 meters. We are almost 15 to 20 meters. Level 5, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 5. Kuti varikuita basa iroro rekutsvaga vanhu. Saka ndo patiri nanhasi ticharamba tichikurudzira chataona pano tiri kuti tikawana futi rubetsero rwembwa dzinokwanira kuti pavanenge vachera that level dzinokwanisa kana dzichisinifa dzichitipa ma-strategic directions.
Tiri mubishi rekutsvaga zvikwanisiro zvekuti tive tinobatsirwa kuti vana ava vave vanobuda kubva pasi pemigodhi.
Tiri kukumbirisa kuti tibatane tibatsirane nevamwe vari kuita basa, tisangosire varidzi vamwe vari kuti varidzi vanhu mhuri iri papa ndiyo iite basa, kwete hazvisizve varidzi vemhuri asi kuti zvazvedu tese idambudziko rabata nyika kana rakadai.
Family members who have been at the scene since day one are holding on to the hope that their relatives will be rescued alive.
Dambudziko iri pandakarinzwa ndakabva ndamhanya ini kubva kuGokwe ndakasvika panapa nezuro kuma 3 ndikawana pano paine bata iyoyi yamuri kungoona iripo mishini ichiita vanhu varipo, vanhu vari pano vese hapana hama yangu, vanhu vemuno vari kubatsirana nevana vangu. Saka ndakaona kuti basa riri kuitwa pano ihombe chaizvo.
Tine mukoma wangu inini anonzi Daniel Mhlambi akatsikirigwa pakakolapsa mugodhi uno nekuda kwemvura. Vandiri kutenda kuti pasi papa pane kona yaari yekuti kana tikagona kumhanya nguva ichiripo zvikwanisiro zvikavapo zvekuchera tinogona kuwana vari vanhu vachine upenyu hwakanaka. Saka sekukurudzira kurungoitawo vamwe vese ndinongoramba ndichikurudzira nekukumbira nekutenda hurumende yatouya kuzoona chiitiko chakadai.
Concerned villagers are also spending most of their time at the scene hoping for good news.
Our team here is certainly tracking on that story to ensure you are updated on the latest developments. Now, the government is on high alert as heavy rains are expected over the next 7 days, with flooding anticipated in some parts of the country. Local government and Public Works Minister Honorable Daniel Garwe says the Civil Protection Department has activated rescue systems in order to respond to any emergencies.
Inenge chinaya asi chinyanya kunaya kumaodza nyemba kwenyika ino kweZimbabwe. Mvura iri kunaya munyika dzemuSADC, kuZambia iri kubata nyika yese, kuMozambique iri kubata nyika yese, kuAngola iri kubata nyika yese, asi muno muZimbabwe, South Africa iri kubata futi nyika yese, asi muno muZimbabwe iri kubata matunhu ari kumaodza nyemba kwenyika. Ndoko kunzi tinge tichipowa chenjedzo yekuti tisarega vana vachifamba vega vachiyambuka nzizi dzingave diki kana nzizi hombe vachiti ndokwanisa kuyambuka apa, anenge amafashani vanokwanisa kuyeredzwa. Saka tobatsira vana kana kuchinaya tiri kudzidziswa zvakare kuti tisayamire, tisawande mvura pasi pemiti, tinorohwa nemheni, tisafambe tisina kupfeka shangu kana kuchinaya tinorohwa nemheni.
Construction of the Museum of African Liberation is progressing well, with the facility set to become the citadel of the continent's history upon completion. Bruce Chawanda reports.
As part of government's media strategy, journalists and government officials, led by the Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Dr. Jennifer Mswere, toured the construction site of the Museum of African Liberation in Harare this Tuesday.
This project is one of the pillar projects of the Second Republic, where the Second Republic would like to emphasize and accentuate the issue of glorifying our history. And the project is not in isolation. It's in fact subscribing to Agenda 2063.
The tour of the project is part of the provincial media tours organized by the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services to showcase government programs being implemented in line with Vision 2030.
The ZDF exists primarily to protect, preserve the heritage of Zimbabwe, which includes our land, our people, our culture, and our resources. So this is 1 hectare that the Zimbabwe Defense Forces is populating with the equipment that was used during the war, so that
the provincial media tour will be taken to Manicaland province this Thursday to showcase the Second Republic's development projects which are transforming people's lives. The provincial media tours have so far been conducted in Harare and Mashonaland East provinces. Bruce Chawanda, ZBC News, Harare.
The government is set to roll out a massive school construction project in order to address the challenge of unregistered learning facilities in the country.
Population growth and other factors have resulted in the sprouting of unregistered schools that are sometimes termed as backyard schools. The government has since moved in to address this issue, and one of these is the target to construct over 100 schools this year. Cognizant of a deficit of around 2,800 schools, government allocated 14.5% of the national budget to the education sector, coupled with financial injection from international non-state institutions towards schools construction.
We are targeting not less than 150 new schools that we intend to construct. And we are happy as Minister of Primary and Secondary Education because we got the biggest vote in terms of support from the national cake, from the fiscals. We got a total of $49 billion from the national budget. We are going to receive financial assistance from OFID, opaque funding for international development.
While private schools offer valuable alternatives, concerns remain over quality, safety and adherence to national education standards.
Vabereki ikodzero yavo kuti vazive kuti chikoro chakarejistwa here, chikoro chine mapepa here, ko vadzidzisi vari kudzidzisa vana vakadzidzira basa racho here.
It is the duty of every parent to ensure that they enroll their children into properly registered schools. Properly registered schools are given registration numbers by the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, and parents can actually prove whether a school is registered or not by visiting their district offices.
In the past year, government constructed around 104 schools and is calling upon the private sector to complement its effort through private-public partnerships in order to reduce the deficit. Wellington Makonese, ZBC News, Harare.
Local authorities are embarking on benchmarking visits to the Geopomona Waste Management Project in Harare to establish ways of replicating the project in their cities.
The visit by the top management of the city of Mutare, led by Mayor Councillor Simon Chabuka, was preceded by a tour of the Geopomona Waste Management Facility by the city's entourage of councillors this Monday. Mayor Chabuka says the project is the right way to go in enhancing waste management.
Challenge yata nayo inyai our dump site. Dump site redu rarekare, rakura, and arena equipment oro arina kugadzirwa sezvataona pano nezvokuitika pano, and also hatisatane capacity yekugadzira oro kuva infrastructure yataona yakasetwa pano. And also tiri kuita challenge nema-residents vanogara muarea ine dump site redu, vanosanganisira vanogara mudarlington, palmerston and nepategron side. Vane dambudziko rekunhuhwa kunobva mudump, also ne mosquito, also nenhunzi dzakanyanya dzinokonzera zvirwere.
Town Clerk Mr. Isaac Chafesuka reviewed the potential for a collaboration with Geopomona.
Not only in Zimbabwe, the world over, zvinotenderwa kuti munogona kuita ma-partnerships nema-private players vanenge vane skill yamusina. So as a city takakumbira kuti tizodzidzawo zviri kuitika panapa.
Geopomona Executive Chairperson Dr. Dilesh Nguwaya said several local authorities are visiting the site on a learning tour with a view to replicating the same project in their towns and cities.
Havasi kutanga kuya kunoku. City of Blue vakamboya pano vakadzidzawo zvatiri kuita pano pa Pomona dam site. Saka se Geopomona tine chushuviro chokushanda navo chavapa solution yakanaka kuti marara amanagwe zvakanakisa. Hapana munhu anogara mumarara, munhu wese anogara muenvironment yakanaka. Saka ndafara kuya kwavaita kuti at least vauya kuzozvionera vega kuti marara anomanagwa sei.
Meanwhile, a team of Geopomona engineers is leaving for Lesotho for feasibility studies in the city of Maseru after a recent meeting between the Geopomona management and the Prime Minister of Lesotho to establish working relationships in waste management. Owen Mandova, ZBC News, Harare.
Well, remember to check our website for these and other stories. That's at www.zbcnews.co.zw. Also check our social media platforms on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, as well as on our WhatsApp channel. We are at ZBC News Online.
We still have more news coming up after this break, and here's a look at what you can expect in business. Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board lays groundwork for a fair pricing system. And in sport, Simba Bora embark on rebuilding exercise after signing highly rated midfielder Blessed Ndereki.
We'll be back with those stories and more. Stay with us.
Everybody needs a little time away. I heard her say from each other. After all that we've been through, I will make it up to you. I promise to.
Every heart is the dream of greatness. Football is more than a game. It is hope. It is unity. It is the future. Every journey starts with a single kick. As a dedicated and passionate individual, I, Nqobile Magwizi, am ready to lead Zimbabwean football into a new era. My transformative agenda is built on uniting stakeholders, restoring integrity, and fostering grassroots talent. I firmly believe every player deserves a chance to shine. From our humble beginnings to dreaming on the global stage, we know that talent must be nurtured and dreams deserve to flourish. That's why I'm asking for your vote to become the president of the Zimbabwe Football Association. It's time to focus on the ball. Together, we can restore pride, nurture talent, and create a lasting legacy for future generations. Vote for me, Nqobile Magwizi, and let's transform Zimbabwean football together.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Communities living near national parks are reeling under pressure on human-wildlife conflict, resulting in loss of life, severe injuries and a huge cost on livelihoods. This has drawn attention to the Parks and Wildlife Management Bill, which will establish a compensation fund for victims. Theophilus Chuma reports.
Last year, 2024, we lost 42 lives against 50 the previous year. And I think the other year we lost about 67, 70. The numbers were a bit high.
Human-wildlife conflict continues to be a headache for authorities, with the country having the highest number of fatalities related to human-wildlife conflict in the Southern Africa region. According to the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority, ZIMPACS, the severity of the cases is impacting livelihoods after a surge in the number of livestock lost to wildlife attacks last year.
It's a disaster. And we have lost, I think, about 143 cattle last year, which was an increase from 115 the previous year. Donkeys, goats being affected.
Conservation experts say intensified competition for food and water is one of the factors fueling human-wildlife conflict. The high death rate resulting from conflict with wildlife is drawing attention to the speedy finalization of the Parks and Wildlife Management Amendment Bill that will pave way for the establishment of a Human-Wildlife Conflict Relief Fund. The Ministry of Environment, Climate and Wildlife has made the issue a priority this year.
We are also concerned that our communities, especially those living adjacent to key wildlife areas, bearing the brunt of problem animals. The ministry is working flat out to ensure that the fund, which was approved by Cabinet, becomes operational once the ZIMPACS bill is finalized.
If successfully implemented, the Human-Wildlife Conflict Fund will cushion victims through funeral assistance and payment of medical bills. Theophilus Chuma, ZBC News.
We're now crossing over to our Montrose studios. Arthur is on standby. Arthur, good evening.
Thank you so much, Vicky. Our attention turns to Matabeleland South, where police have contained a gold rush which had turned volatile in Vubachikwe area in Gwanda, Matabeleland South province on Monday night. In other news, government has turned its attention to planting indigenous trees to combat the effects of climate change and safeguard biodiversity. We will give you that other story in the news to come.
In a media briefing in Ula this Monday, the Minister of Environment, Climate and Wildlife, Dr. Stembiso Nyoni, emphasized that planting trees guarantees a sustainable future for future generations.
We want to develop about 7 of our own indigenous forests that will then feed into the SADC Great Green Belt. So if you want to go into carbon credits, please, through forests, of course, because there are so many projects that you can do, embark mainly on indigenous forests, protect them, defend them, grow them, and let's make sure that they thrive, because they are more sustainable than the exotic forests.
The minister also visited a local nursery where she encountered a heartwarming example of citizen action.
I see you have got a variety of trees here, which is really commendable.
Thank you.
This is for your home?
Yes.
Yes, very good. Can you tell us which ones and why you bought them? So that we encourage the public also.
What made us decide on the trees is we also want to plant indigenous trees.
Yes.
Yes. We have been planting mangoes and things like that. So we thought in our home, our children also should learn these trees, our indigenous trees, yes, like the baobab. So they see what a baobab looks like, mtowe. They also taste all these fruits.
Yes.
And as a grandmother, I can also play with them, teach them about our beautiful indigenous trees.
Wonderful.
Yes. And also the medicinal ones as well, so we can be fit as well.
This comes after government launched the National Forest Policy, which provides the comprehensive framework for sustainable management, conservation, and development of Zimbabwe's forest resources. Hiland Moy, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
Development funds have been becoming a practical development tool across the country, improving early development infrastructure for learning in Mvuma. Our Midlands Bureau Chief Tafaro Chikumera brings us the following report.
The Second Republic continues to address the school's deficit with the establishment of Blink Water Early Childhood Development Center in Mvuma district, expected to improve access to education, with plans afoot to develop the facility into a fully fledged primary school in the near future. The ECD Center, with a carrying capacity of 100 learners, has been welcomed as a game changer in the educational needs of the Mvuma community.
We are thinking of establishing a primary school there, so that people who will not cross the major highway coming to schools which are in Mvuma.
The community is equally excited by the new facility, which confirms the Second Republic's inclusive development is in motion.
Pakatapo pakaita highway saka vana vanga vachinetseka pakukrosa kuti vachikwanisa kufamba vachienda kunodzidza kuzvikoro zviri kuMvuma.
Pachirongwa ichi hatakuziva kuti president vaMnangagwa zvavari kutiitira izvi dai zvaitika munzvimbo muno mose kuti vana varerukirwe kuti kufamba.
Government has promised to continue with its developmental trajectory in line with Vision 2030.
I applaud the new dispensation under the able and visionary leadership of the President of the Republic, Comrade Dr. Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, for implementing Rural Development 8.0 Vision 2030 Accelerator Model in an endeavor to modernize and industrialize marginalized areas underpinned by the development approach of leaving no one and no place behind.
The ECD Center has been described as testimony of how the Second Republic is committed to providing education infrastructure countrywide. Tafara Chikumera, ZBC News, Mvuma.
Earlier in the bulletin, we spoke about the promotion of indigenous trees, and government is also promoting the climate-smart livestock breeding programs that they're running that focus on developing indigenous breeds that are resilient to dry conditions.
The distress caused by the prolonged El Nino-induced drought resulted in the loss of over 13,000 cattle countrywide. Government has since intervened to save the national herd through the establishment of livestock drought mitigation centers and capacity building for livestock farmers.
What is important going forward is to make sure that we build resilience. We have learned from the El Nino-induced drought that we need to grow drought-tolerant feed crops. We need to make sure that we have got access to water for our livestock in the various wards. So we are going to continue with the borehole drilling in the various wards, especially those areas in natural region 4 and 5. We will make sure that we construct water troughs. This program, which we started the ward drought mitigation centers, we are continuing with that going into the coming year. But also important is that we go for sustainable livestock production, where we will promote the creation of feed and fodder banks at household level.
Government is now promoting climate-smart livestock breeding, which relies on advanced techniques such as artificial insemination to grow the national herd.
We are also promoting climate-smart livestock breeding that promotes resilient breeds. We will be using artificial insemination to make sure that we promote the indigenous breeds which are actually resistant to dry conditions. The artificial insemination program is currently being handled by our research department, also veterinary services. But we have now also said, let's work together with the universities like Chino University. We know that they've got capacity.
Zimbabwe and Indonesia have also signed an agreement that will see the Asian country providing artificial insemination services for quality livestock genetics. The country has a national herd of above 5 million cattle with a budget of over 364 billion ZiG, having been set aside for programs to grow the national herd this year. John Nandara, ZBC News, Harare.
My name is Arthur Sevens for the Montrose News Desk. We continue with the main news bulletin from our Pocket Hill studios.
Lot, Arthur. Hopefully we'll catch up with you tomorrow and hear what's happening on the other side. Now, taking a look at what's happening in the courts here, Harare businessmen Mike Chimombe and Moses Mpofu are facing charges of fraud involving $7 million United States dollars. They have made a fresh bail application at the High Court.
Mike Chimombe and Moses Mpofu appeared before High Court Judge Justice Pisira Kwenda in Harare this Tuesday, seeking bail pending trial, citing changed circumstances, claiming that there are enough to warrant their release. The state objected, saying the circumstances have not changed, arguing that Chimombe and Mpofu made an application at the lower court which initially denied them bail. Through their defense, the accused argued that the onus is now on the state to provide compelling reasons warranting their continued detention. They also argued that the High Court must not be bound by the judgment made by the Harare Magistrates Court in denying them bail. In opposing the state fears of fleeing the country's jurisdiction, the judge said they are family men with extensive business interest in the country. The bail hearing will continue this Wednesday. Chimombe and Mpofu were arrested last year on allegations of defrauding the government of more than $7 million United States dollars in a presidential gold pass-on scheme. Peter Chivima, ZBC News, Harare.
From the courts, we look at news from beyond our borders. A ceasefire has been described as the only way to alleviate the bleak humanitarian situation in conflict-ridden Sudan.
Speaking at a United Nations Security Council meeting on Sudan this Monday, China's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Gang Shuang, said the conflict in Sudan should be resolved as a matter of urgency. Gang urged the international community to jointly push for a political solution based on full respect for Sudan's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. He further called on all parties involved to implement relevant Security Council resolutions, working towards de-escalating tensions, resolving differences through dialogue and consultation, protecting civilians, and ensuring the safety of aid workers. The conflict between the Sudanese Armed Forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces has been raging on for the past 20 months.
The United Nations UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, says aid efforts in Gaza are facing mounting obstacles. This comes amid reports that Israeli forces are attacking relief workers after a breakdown of law and order in the war-torn enclave. The UN Humanitarian Agency Chief Tom Fletcher released a statement this Monday just after the World Food Programme WFP condemned an Israeli attack on the aid convoy of 3 vehicles in the Gaza Strip at the weekend. This Tuesday, an OCHA official reported an Israeli air attack at a non-food distribution point where the WFP partner was operating, seriously injuring 3 people. Meanwhile, UN agencies estimate that around 1.6 million people in Gaza are living in makeshift shelters that do not fully protect them. The Hamas-Israel conflict has been ongoing since the 7th of October 2023, and over 45,000 Palestinians have been killed, with around 109,000 wounded.
That's what's happening beyond our country's borders. We are off to a break. Join us when we return.
The Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation is seeking a news and current affairs director to lead the delivery of accurate, timely, and objective news and current affairs content across all platforms for the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, ZBC. The ideal candidate will be a strong leader with a deep understanding of journalistic ethics, public broadcasting principles, and evolving media landscape in Zimbabwe and internationally. Interested candidates who meet the qualifications and experience requirements of this position are encouraged to submit their applications by email to executive-recruitment@zbc.co.zw by the 17th of January 2025, addressed to the Chairperson, Board Human Resources Committee, Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, number 1 Northern Road, Highlands, Harare. For more details, visit our website www.zbc.co.zw.
Want to elevate your entertainment? Then add Showmax to your DSTV subscription at a discount. Showmax is not a TV channel. It's an on-demand video streaming service on showmax.com. To add Showmax to your DSTV subscription, simply use the My DSTV app. Select Add Showmax. The app screen will display the discount you qualify for. Now you can enjoy exclusive shows and movies you won't find anywhere else. Add Showmax to elevate your entertainment.
The Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board has set the tone for a fair pricing matrix ahead of the marketing season for the irrigated crop. The regulator called out merchants for putting a cap on the price of the golden leaf. I'll look at business.
With irrigated tobacco now ready for harvesting and curing, merchants have once again come under the spotlight for an unfair pricing structure. The Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board TIMB is laying the groundwork for a fair pricing system, with golden leaf buyers being urged to break the $4.99 cap at auction sales.
It's completely unacceptable that the auction floor top price is $4.99, and yet at some of the merchants markets it's $6.99. So it is insane. However, the balancing factor is that the auction price average is higher than the contracted price average. But something has to be done. We tried to kickstart it last year. It didn't work. And I think the trade have to recognize that $4.99 is no longer an acceptable price for top quality leaf.
Tobacco Association of Zimbabwe President Mr. George Seremwe bemoaned the culture of undermining the TIMB price matrix, which stipulates that the leaf must be paid according to grades.
We spoke about the cap of $4.99. We saw a slight increase just to maybe shut us up, but in reality you see the average price of the mentions still is on the lower side. So we are appealing to TIMB and authorities and again to the mentions themselves to change their culture. We want them to change their culture so that we promote the industry. We also promote the livelihoods of our families, because we can't produce the tobacco crop for them to get rich only.
Tobacco is one of the country's strategic crops with the potential to rake in $5 billion United States dollars by 2030. Tendai Munengwa, ZBC News, Harare.
From business, we move into the arts, where popular South African amapiano crooner Scott Mapuma is expected to perform in Zimbabwe for the first time on the 18th of this month.
The amapiano music star, popularly known for his captivating dance moves and infectious rhythms, will perform in Bulawayo on the 18th of this month.
Right, we're expecting Scott Mapuma to land at our airport on the 18th of January.
During the festive season, the internet was abuzz with dance challenges inspired by Mapuma's unique moves.
He's very popular amongst the youth. He's trending a lot on TikTok, where they are doing a lot of his challenges based on his songs. So we're really looking forward to seeing a lot of young people dancing on this day.
Besides his electrifying performances, the South African musician has a unique way of engaging with his fans at live shows through his signature catchphrase, Vati Nibona, which translates to "What did they say?" Lisa Masuku, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
Well, on that note, we take a break. We'll return with sport.
Shark on the line.
He took my fish.
You guys, did you see that? I just was like, what?
I really want you to find someone nice who would mean the world to you and make you so happy.
Bernardo Silva, Stones, Foden, a little bit of time. Oh, what a shot! What a goal! What a player!
In our first look at sport, reigning champions Simba Bora have acquired highly rated midfielder Blessed Ndereki from Yada as they embark on a rebuilding exercise after losing several key players, including captain Walter Musona.
After confirming the departure of 13 players this Monday, defending champions Simba Bora have moved in swiftly to fill the void after securing the signature of gifted midfielder Blessed Ndereki from Yada. The highly rated enforcer is expected to be a vital cog in a midfield that has lost some key players. The defending champions have also robbed in youthful coach Joel Lupatha to replace Tonrand Rai, who has joined New Boys Scotland. Simba Bora have lost captain Walter Musona and 12 other players, including goalkeepers Talbot Shumba and Temon Mvula, midfielders Vasili Kawe, Tichona Chipunza and Mtokozi Zimsebe. Forwards Perfect Chikwende, Simbarasha Maramwidze and Talent Chawapio have also left the Shamba-based side. Elsewhere, debutants Scotland continue their recruitment drive after confirming football's worst-kept secret following the appointment of Tonrand Rai as the new head coach. They have signed attacking midfielder Nathan Mutasa, who has been with La Liga club Granada FC's developmental side.
The Zimbabwe Women Premier Soccer League is anticipating a new lease of life from the 25 January ZIFA elections, which are expected to provide a permanent seat for women in the ZIFA leadership.
Women football has been reeling from underdevelopment owing to lack of representation at the highest level. That is, however, set to change as the new Zimbabwe Football Association ZIFA constitution provides permanent seats for women football. The new constitution stipulates that one of the two vice presidents must be a woman and offers another seat for a representative from the Women Premier Soccer League. The Women Premier Soccer League leadership believes the female vice president will advocate for women football development.
We are very much pleased to have the position of women vice president within the ZIFA board. This initiative by FIFA around 2016 to have women in decision-making position has now been fulfilled. We expect quite a lot as women are now being empowered. We expect the Vice President to strongly represent and address our concerns. The concerns, some of which are the gender equality, the equal distribution of FIFA funds, grassroots development of women's football, football facilities, welfare of players, and also welfare of all our national teams, just to mention but a few. As women football, we really appreciate the added voice of women in the ZIFA constitution, where 16 clubs and 4 regions will be represented.
5 candidates, Mavis Kumbo, Patience Mutumwa, Winnet Murota, Joyce Kapota and Loveness Mukura, are jostling to occupy the women vice presidents in the January 25 polls. ZBC News, Ulawai.
Scores of sports personalities gathered at Zvarasekwa courts in Harare to pay their last respects to basketball legend Ngoni Mkukula, who died in Harare on Sunday. Details from Lawrence Trusida.
In Harare was Ngoni's home, and indeed it was the venue for hundreds of former and current sports personalities to pay their last respects to the departed legend. Mkukula was raised in Zvarasekwa and started training basketball in the high-density suburb before taking his initiative around the country. He was involved in several sports development programs, including Sports for All program, Basketball Without Boundaries, and the famed Hoops for Hope program, where he was the national director. A cross-section of personalities from the Sport and Recreation Commission, Zimbabwe Olympic Committee, of former sports executives, current and former basketball players concurred that Mkukula was the godfather of basketball in Zimbabwe.
He's the father of basketball. I have no doubt about it. Because he is the one who introduced basketball in a lot of high-density suburbs.
He was looking after us, not just on the court. He was looking after us in life. The man transformed our lives. He always take us one-on-one lessons, asked us, what are we doing in life besides basketball?
Such people are hard to replace. It's a big war, If you look at players, even the highest level yatashika in Zimbabwe produce some players. Vitalis Chikoko is playing in EuroLeague.
Kudzidza ndo chimwe chinhu chaida kuti vanhu vanga vachiendera mberi nechikoro sezvo aitiramba achiemphasize kuti education is key to life irikuenda mberi.
The charismatic Mkukula had a hand in taking basketball to the masses.
We introduced community basketball in Harare to start with, because basketball was more of an elitist sport. We started now constructing the facilities in the high-density suburbs.
The basketball union is mourning at the huge void left.
It's one of the key members in development for basketball, particularly grassroots development, and so our national teams, our clubs will always fit through the system. So for us, it's a huge loss of an icon, of a legend who has contributed to basketball for over 20 years.
Mkukula also had a huge hand in modernizing basketball.
We're working with Ngoni in order to improve the constitution of the Basketball Union of Zimbabwe and bringing it up to date and in line with best practices.
Mkukula started playing basketball in the 1980s before forming Desert Raiders and introduced the sport to Zorasekwa before he went on to spread the game to various suburbs. Affectionately known as Baba Watida, Mkukula will be laid to rest this Thursday at Glen Forest Memorial Park in Harare. Lawrence Tuseda, ZBC News, Harare.
Ngoni leaving a great legacy. May his soul rest in peace. And that report putting a lead on our sports segment. Let's check in with the Met Department.
Hello there and welcome. Time for your evening weather report and forecast. My name is Benjamin Kwaramba. Well, the moisture over the country remains unstable and moist, resulting in widespread thunderstorms across the country. Significant falls were at Karoi with 32 millimeters, Masvingo with 24, Tadisa Park in Rua 21, Kadoma with 19 millimeters. Many other areas not captured there had falls of below 15 millimeters. In the satellite images received this afternoon shows the cloudy conditions over the country, and we expect these conditions to continue into the next couple of days, where it should be partly cloudy to cloudy with scattered afternoon or evening thunderstorms from time to time. Now, for the minimum temperatures expected tomorrow, Harare should be having 17 degrees Celsius, Bulawayo 17 as well. Victoria Falls 18, 23 is expected at Chiredzi, 19 for Mutare, 16 for Gokwe, and Lupane with 18 degrees Celsius. And the maximum, Kariba 33, Victoria Falls 30, 25 is expected for Harare, 26 for Bulawayo, 30 at Gwanda, Mutare 28, 36 at Chiredzi, 26 is expected for Gweru. Now for the detailed forecast in the week ahead. Well, scattered thunderstorms for Bulawayo there on Wednesday, that is tomorrow. Same for Chinoi on Thursday and Friday. We expect some scattered afternoon or evening thunderstorms. Gwanda, scattered thunderstorms on Thursday. Gweru, scattered thunderstorms on Wednesday through to Friday. Harare, same Wednesday through to Friday, expect some scattered thunderstorms, that is. Kadoma on Friday, expect some thunderstorms. Kariba, partly cloudy conditions expected with your maximum temperatures in the lower 30s. Lupane, isolated showers on Friday. Kwekwe, scattered thunderstorms expected on Friday. Masvingo, again, isolated showers on Friday. Matopos, again, we expect some isolated showers on Thursday. Nyanga, Thursday and Friday, expect some scattered thunderstorms. Victoria Falls, partly cloudy conditions expected. Well, Zimbabwe, thank you for watching tonight's edition of the Weather Report and Forecast. Let's make a date again tomorrow at the same time. Good evening, Zimbabwe.
And many thanks to Benji there with the Weather Report and Forecast.
And that's how we end the bulletin tonight. Let's make a date again tomorrow. Good night.
Good night. Welcome to State of the Economy. I'm Justin Matlakla. On this program, we zero in on developments in the economy. Particularly today, we are looking at the state of affairs within the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education. I'm joined by the Minister, Honorable Cholera. Honorable, it's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, Justice.
Now, Honorable, tell us the impact, the economic impact of the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education.
We have decided to align our curriculum with the national trajectory, the national vision of His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa,